It's Tuesday.
What Tuesday is it?
Taco Ball Tuesday. And we've
A
got
special Taco Ball Tuesday.
that is right. We've got a new item on the menu. What is this third background?
A special guest. Would you do the introduction, sir?
Oh yeah. Oh.
Ready?
Okay.
Double
It's going
Sixers.
down. It's going down. Nice. Rocking the Maxi jersey. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Tyrese Maxey. Wow.
This guy, like even before probably 6 months ago, Kyle, you're saying that Max is the real deal. And here we are.
Dude, he's the key. He's the key. We can talk about it all day. Let's go. Let's go.
Second best player on the team.
I agree.
Will that be the only time we agree tonight?
Pretty much, yes. Yes.
Maybe.
Yes.
Maybe.
Oh,
Well,
take a note.
before we get ahead of ourselves, so Kyle, tell us a little bit about yourself. We want to hear your favorite Taco Bell menu item. And then we got to hear favorite teams, favorite players. How'd you get into the NBA?
So I'm old school Taco Bell, right? I'm not as progressive as the youth on the show, right? And the rest of it, yeah, I probably skew the demographic of the viewers dramatically, right? So I am 2 hard shell beef supreme, 2 hard shell chicken. You take a mild and you take a hot, put them on each. That's pretty much it. And then if you really want to go crazy, go 3 and 3. So that's my old school Taco Bell. But still, you gotta every now and then, like, you want to go crazy. Like, hey, I'm just gonna like get the Mexi melt, then like all of a sudden it's gone after like all 6 tacos, and like it's an hour and a half later, and you're going, okay, you're old. You really shouldn't have done that. Unlike the youth that are on the show, again, and most of the viewers who are significantly younger than me.
What viewers? I think
Notice I'm shaking my head no.
The viewers consist of one age group.
Yeah. So favorite team, obviously the Sixers. I'm extremely old school. Grew up literally with a Julius Erving poster in my bedroom for 10 years. Him dunk. I have it. It's actually a 1977 poster. I just found it. If I wanted to buy it, it's only $185 because they don't print it anymore. Not happening.
All right. So this is, I don't know why I never connected this. Maybe I should have, but I have to show you something. I can do it after the episode. But
this is appropriate for YouTube?
Yeah, I have a giant, it's in the shape of a backboard, but I'm an artist and I do portraiture, and I have a portrait of Julius Erving that I've done that's on like a backboard style background for the canvas. So
that's awesome. Yeah, please show me that. Yeah. So so you gotta understand. So back in the 70s when I started watching basketball, it's when basketball was first starting, and there was only 3 channels. So the only out of market teams, I grew up in upstate New York, real upstate out by the Capitol. And the only out of market games for the most part were either the Celtics, the Lakers, or the Sixers. My dad was a Knicks fan. At 4 years old, I rebelled because that's what all 4-year-olds do. And I started watching, I became a Sixers fan, became obsessed. And, so I grew up watching pretty much like playoff games, or like Sunday afternoon games. There wasn't as much NBA obviously on TV back then. And quite frankly, most of them were recorded and then replayed. Right. So they weren't even live. And I just became, we're watching the HBO special now about the Lakers that they're doing on, Magic Time. And like they got to the thing where, Dr. Buss's mom died. And it was when right during when they were about to go play the Sixers in 1980. And I was like, well, if we could just take care of all of them, that would have been good. Because, I'm not a Lakers fan. Being a Sixers fan in the 80s, right? There's 3 teams I hate in life, which is the Lakers, the Celtics, and the Cowboys. Everything else is secondary. Lakers and Celtics. I grew up. I like one of my best moments, and I'll share this with you. So one of my best moments in sports was a bunch of Lakers Celtics fans in my neighborhood, and we were watching the games. I used to watch all the games whenever they were on TV. Was when that year when when the Sixers beat the Celtics finally, and the entire Boston Garden started chanting "Beat LA." Was one of the best sports moments because you don't understand how much Sixers, Boston and Philly hated each other back in the day. I mean, even more so than now. So that was like a huge thing. So yeah, that's how I became a Sixers fan.
Nice. I like the historical perspective.
Dude, at 53, that's all I got, man.
Back when basketball was starting.
The ball was square.
Yeah.
Was this before or after the ABA merger?
They only had one basket.
It was still a peach basket, right?
It was right at the ABA merger, right? So
was the ball remember, red, white, and blue?
Yes. So I remember in 1976. So I was 7 years old watching basketball, and the ball was red, white, and blue. And Julius had the afro, and he was dunking from the foul line. It was great. Like, I mean, really, that's what got us to what everybody calls the heyday, was the 76 to 1980 basketball, kind of crazy, red, white, and blue, 3-pointer, Julius Duncan, Wilt Chamberlain, all those guys. I mean, Bird and Magic would have never happened if they couldn't figure out how to get ratings in 76 to 80.
Awesome.
Nice. Thanks for that, Kyle.
Yeah. So now let's talk about why Justin C is wrong about everything.
Well, before we get to that, we need to we've got a game happening right now, and it looks like the Sixers going on a little run here, cutting it down to, I think, only a 9-point Miami lead. 7 minutes left in the second quarter. So while the series is rolling out, we got to talk. We need, Griswold, we need your Sixers preview. This is a new series. It's the best of 3. We didn't have a chance to really preview the Sixers. How far are they going to go in the playoffs? Do they have what it takes to go all the way? Will this Harden trade put them over the top? So that's where I want to start tonight. We got to talk about the Sixers.
Oh, that's a lot.
The series.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Well, will they win the series? Number one, and then how far is the squad going?
Sixers, Heat are easy with Harden in the game. We've whooped their butts all year long. Without Harden, without that other guy who has a back problem and some emotional issues about people booing him. So the non-MVP played the entire year without his number 2 until like the last month, but nobody gets credit for that. Even if you have 3 other all-stars on your team, you're apparently the MVP. But that being said and swept aside for a second, is when they get to the Bucks, it really depends on Embiid's health. I mean, I think they win. I think they win tonight. I think they win the next game. I think it goes 6. I don't think it goes 7. I'm not worried about the Heat. Can beat them all day long. But Embiid with a bad thumb, I don't know. Playing against Giannis is a different animal. It's going to be a different, wackier hand when you're going up. Really it's hurting his rebounding and his passing, not his shooting. And I don't know. I think it's 50-50. If they get past the Bucks, they win it all, because I think it's between them and the Bucks. Even though I know there's some Suns fans, that's funny. Like, they play basketball. They have 2 guys. But yeah.
1.5.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I when they get to the Bucks, I think it's 50-50. It all depends on if Embiid's healthy. I think they can, but since I don't know what the heck it's like to play with a torn ligaments in my thumb when you're 7 foot and people are whacking at your hand. I don't know.
So you're seeing that after last night's Milwaukee loss at home to the Celtics, you're still taking the Bucks over Bucks. The Celtics?
Yeah, I think it's Bucks in 7. Yeah, I think Boston is doing amazing work, but I think push comes to shove. Do you want the Celtics or Giannis in a game 7? You know, you're kind of like what you used to with Tiger when he was at his prime. You take Tiger or the field. Do you take Giannis or the Celtics? I'll bet on Giannis all day. I mean, Celtics are making a great run. Some of the best coaching I've seen probably in the past 3-4 years. But I'm not betting against Giannis in this. I mean, it's so close that all he has to do is have the game, right? And it's over.
But what makes this series more intriguing is the fact that the game 5 is back in Boston because they have home court. And so to me, more pressure. I think the Celtics have more momentum. And I think that they flipped this series when they won last night.
But so I gotta ask, do you really think in that particular, like in the Heat Sixers, I think home court, you know, like they always say in football, it's 3 points, right? Is home field. I think in Philly, Miami, home court matters. It really does. But Milwaukee and Boston are healthy as heck. They've both proven that they can win on the road all year long. I don't think it phases them. I mean, I other than sleeping in your own bed, I don't see the advantage to Boston or Milwaukee. I think they're playing at a level right now where it's talent versus talent.
And either team could win on the road.
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to are you going to perform? Milwaukee and Boston. I think Philadelphia is hurt a little by being on the road. Teams like the Heat. I think the Suns, same thing. But I don't see Milwaukee and or Boston having any letdown just because you're on the road. I just think they're that good of a team, like playing at that good of a level right now.
What do you think, Justin? You've been awfully quiet the last few minutes here.
Well, I'm just taking notes, learning my lessons here. As wrong as I am, I feel as though I agree with the Griz on almost everything he just said. I don't think I didn't think going in Miami stood a chance. The fact that Embiid missed both of those games, this series could be over if he played in game 1 and 2 already, because they have no answer for him. Just like I don't think when it comes down to it, do you trust Giannis or the field in Boston? And you're going to take Giannis. I am. But here, do you take Embiid or do you take the players of the Heat? And he just found out that he didn't win MVP again. So I think he's like even more irritated and agitated. The only thing that stands in Philadelphia's way is Doc Rivers and just being Doc Rivers. And it's the only thing that looms. So I think Philadelphia ends up taking care of Miami, whether it's in 6 or 7. And I think Boston is out as well. I think Giannis does the same thing, whether it's in 6 or 7. I don't see.
I agree.
I think we're going to get, as long as they stay healthy, Embiid is clutching his face on the floor, rolling around. So as long as he is healthy and can play, I really want to get 7 games of Giannis and Embiid, and I feel like the NBA deserves it. I feel like we deserve it.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I can't, as much as he drives me nuts, I can't say, I think Giannis is actually underrated. Yeah, I think I mean, I really do. I think he is actually already one of the best basketball players. He's probably top 50 right now if you went through the list and moving up quickly. And I say that just kind of as a sweeping generalization. He's probably even beyond the top 50. But I think Giannis this year, in the past couple of years, just playing at a level that is underappreciated because he's in a terrible, terrible mid-market. I have so much respect for the reason why he signed the contract to stay in a mid-market, which is also why I like him.
Yeah, he's only going to get better, which is scary. Speaking of Doc Rivers, I believe we have a technical foul assessed to Doc Rivers.
No, I don't think it's so Jimmy Butler was going to the sideline here and was talking to fans, and I think Doc Rivers was like, what are you letting him do? Like he was going over and talking to some famous person who I'm too old to recognize.
Miami.
DJ Khaled.
Yeah, no,
don't know.
I know DJ, but no, it wasn't him. I don't know who it was, but like Jimmy Butler like was walking down the court and he stopped and was having a conversation with a fan. I think Doc Rivers was like, "What the heck are we doing? Why are we waiting for this?" And if you got a technical, it's probably the only good thing I can agree with probably on any of his game planning over the past.
It's looking like Embiid got smacked upside the face when someone tried to rebound the ball. They rebounded it into his face, and he fell down. And the refs just had the play continue. So they're still like dribbling, and Doc Rivers is standing at midcourt in like the middle, like they're still playing the possession. And
Okay,
he's in the middle of
see the play.
the field. So
Got it.
I think that's what happened, but I don't know. They're not showing Jimmy Butler anywhere, but Doc Rivers is not happy.
So I'm seeing on my feed, I'm seeing Jimmy Butler 31-42, 6-11 left. What are you seeing?
Yeah, same thing. Somebody's shooting the technical free throw right now. Tyler Hero, probably.
Yeah, I'm just following the play-by-play on.
I got the NBA feed where all they're doing is following Butler.
Yeah, and then so it looks like we got
which again was just another bad decision from our management. But
and then they just subbed out Joel and
the Jimmy Butler in Philadelphia, like that was such a fun stretch for me as a fan.
Perfect.
Because I'm not a Philadelphia guy, but I loved watching that team. That like group of people, like Jimmy Butler and Embiid was like,
you had a guy who could shoot a three and get everybody off of Embiid, and they were like, well, he wants us to pay him. I'm like, isn't that pretty much the idea of sports? Like if you perform, we pay you. And they're like, well, he said he was gonna look else, he's gonna see what the field wanted. And I'm like, I would too. You got a limited freaking career.
Get those checks.
You can't afford his paycheck on the same salary as Ben Simmons. It's just too hard to make the numbers work. You had to choose one or the other.
I think when he gets back, I think he's going to really contribute to Philadelphia by absolutely blowing up the Nets. It's going to be success by attrition. Hey, we got rid of him. He's really helping us out a lot.
Do you think he ever plays another game?
Yeah, there's too
like.
Are
we at like a Greg Oden like situation where we don't ever see him again?
There's too much money. He's got an agent who will do anything to get him back on the floor to get the next max contract.
I can't see how anybody gives him a max contract. I just can't.
Anybody?
I mean, somebody would have to be desperate. Orlando at some point.
How about the Nets? You traded away, Harden, and and you said that we were smarter than everybody, and Philly was getting screwed in the deal, and the guy right here isn't going to help you with his pocket passes and open up things for Maxey and get a fast break going.
So Justin and I talked about this, and I asked him a couple weeks ago, do you ever hear of like there's a win-win or a win-lose in trades? What about a lose-lose in trades? Like, I feel like both teams didn't get better somehow. Like, so
here's what I'll tell you. I don't 100% disagree with you, but we at least got somebody who was willing to play, right?
Yes, you got somebody who's willing to play.
So we're like, hey,
20 points a game is better than
we want to give somebody $40 million. Would someone like to play 30 minutes? Anybody? Bueller? Like for $40 million, could you give us 30 minutes? Like 2 months, just 2 months.
I just don't know if the trajectory of their season changed. I feel like the season goes as it did.
It did because it allowed Harden to open things up for other people and actually rejuvenate Tybal and give Maxey those 8 to 10 points on transition, on fast breaks that make them have to stop and figure out where the ball is. It was huge. His pocket, when he does the pocket passes 3 or 4 times in the first quarter and they result in just easy layups, that's when things open up. The trick for Philadelphia is, and I agree with you to some degree, here's where it's a lose-lose situation. If you re-sign Harden, if you got him there, he gives you 20 points. Here comes Maxey. What I just say, I love it when I'm right.
Until they lose this game, but
Look,
continue.
if they lose the game, I was just kidding about everything. Hold on.
Yeah, sure.
I think someone said LeBron.
You even made fun of mid markets, and I have said nothing.
Dude, no, I think if they re-sign Harden, it's a lose-lose, right? If they don't re-sign Harden and you got rid of the luggage, the distraction, and got somebody who's going to give you points and allow other people to contribute, yes, it's a temporary fix. Yes, it's not ideal, but you got rid of Ben Simmons. You got rid of literally what has killed the process for 2.5 years. I mean, I won't even get into the, all the issues he's had and whatever. That's on him. But at least you have someone who's playing. I mean, it's not like you were going to get rid of the salary, right? It's not like you were going to trade Ben Simmons and get a guy for like $8 million. He was going to give you 17 points and 4 assists. You're like, oh, thank you. That's perfect.
Yes.
That's just what we want. But I mean, I'm happy if they re-sign him. I'll be very unhappy if they re-sign him at the level that he's going to want. If they re-sign him and they're like, hey, how about 20 million a year? You're 34 years old and 20 million is really nothing when it comes to basketball. But if you want 40 million and you want 3 years guaranteed, I mean, what do you think? I mean, I'm all for letting him go. I think if he stays, if he does what he's doing now and we get farther on or get to a championship series, he's proven that type of player can help us. And let him go. Just don't pay 40 million for that type of player, because 20 points and 10 assists is every top 50 player in the NBA right now.
Yeah. So I have one question for you. I have not followed them nonstop all season, but I have noticed that Tobias Harris seems to be playing much better basketball than I remember him playing in years past. Is this been all season for him, or is this late season?
It's my opinion is it's late season statistically. I don't have post All-Star game in front of me, but I will tell you, he seems much more comfortable because the ball's being distributed better. Right. So it's not him having to be, hey, we need you to get 5 threes every game and move the ball around. It's hey, when you're hot, let's shoot. Therese Maxey was kind of that for the first half till Harden came too, which was, I think he went from 14 or 15 points on average, and he blew up 21 points plus after Harden came. And it's because the ball was being distributed better, right? I mean, that's what they were missing. Like Maxey's a good point guard, but having that number 2 there and have Maxey allowed to be kind of the number 3 player on the team, not in position wise, just freed everybody up. I mean, watching Philadelphia as much as I have, I mean, it's been such pressure. Like, let's get the ball into a beat, let him back it in, and then kick it out. The problem is when you kick it out, everybody's been double covered because there's no Ben Simmons on the floor, right? So you pound the heck out of Embiid, and the ball is gonna pop back out. And it's been a terrible. I mean, it took Doc Rivers. I take that back. Doc Rivers didn't figure it out. The trade figured it out. Because Doc Rivers has worked a really crappy game plan, in my opinion. and by a crappy, I mean like a really terrible game plan. Like compared to good game plans, this was terrible.
Yeah, speaking of terrible, this is a pretty brutal way to end the half for the Sixers.
It's not over yet.
Well, we still got 2.5 minutes, but it's an 18.
I'm good for second half. I'm still all in on this game.
All right. Okay, we'll see.
Early. There's plenty of time for Icy Hot to warm up.
It's all Butler right now. It's all Butler.
How many points is Jimmy B up to? He's got 14 points.
Yep.
Max with 11, Oladipo 11. Okay.
Has anybody found it interesting that Duncan Robinson has just like completely fallen out of being played? Like, what happened? He was like getting major minutes in the NBA Finals 2 years ago.
He's had 1 minute this series, right?
He played like 26 seconds in a game, and I saw him check in earlier, but I think he quickly got checked back out. Like Strus and Oladipo have supplanted him and just like given him no minutes.
He's played He's played 5 minutes so far in game 4.
So you've been kind to your guest, and I appreciate that. But let's have some fun. So, you know, I'm assuming that Justin C is like super excited because the Dubs pulled one out last night.
Oh my gosh. Is this what I got set up? Is that what's going on? At first I have to hear all of this pro Philly, and now I have somebody who's excited about the Golden State Warriors. He just wants to
I'm
rub it
asking.
in.
I'm
Oh,
asking.
Okay,
I'm asking.
I want to make one more comment about Sixers before we move on and talk Dubs Grizzlies here. So going back to what we were mentioning about Harden. Remember when we've got another wardrobe change here. So I thought you were gonna have a Harden jersey underneath, like just.
I can go get my Iverson one, but it smells because I run in it.
So
that should be framed.
After Harden detonates in the last game and is knocking down step back threes, he's driving, he's scoring at will. There's all this talk about, oh, you know, he's got his step back. Oh, and people are going back and forth about, like, you know, he's suddenly redeemed himself. I think that his legacy for the Sixers still is going to be determined by if he can reproduce that, if he can bring that production again, that's what could sway another game in this series, and then could sway a game if they make it out of this round against the Heat. So I'm very intrigued to see if he can continue to, you know, he's not going to do that consistently per se, but even if he does it one more time, like that could be the difference in one of these series. So
go ahead.
We've got I think the jury's still out that if he contributes one or two more games like that, you know, clear winner of the trade. If not, I don't know.
So here is my my BS against everybody who has a blank on for Embiid, which is he's never had a true number 2. Right? Every great player, every championship winning player for the past 20 years has had a true number 2, meaning like, hey, if you took that number 2, they would be a number 1. Right? And everybody looked, oh, well, Harden hasn't been a true number 1 in like 3 years. Right? Harden's 34 years old. He's at the end of his career. He's been washed up in it. I like Harden. He's a huge asset to the team. But what I'm really sick of everybody talking about is Embiid is the number 1 right now, right? Because, you know, Giannis has a number 2. The guy out in Golden State has a number 2, right? Everybody has a number 2
and the number 4.
Yeah, and number 4, number 5, and you know, if everybody's healthy, they have you know the Hall of Fame game, right? Embiid has never had a real number 2. I mean, love Maxey, love Tybal, right? But they're great role players right now. I mean, Maxey's only 22 years old. He's going to turn into a consistent all-star in the next 5 years, But you know, Harden come over at 34. He was never the solution. Like, we never thought that. It was more about, you know, scuttling Simmons. You know, show me a great big and a great player like Embiid that didn't have a number 2 and still won it all. And that's always going to be the knock on Embiid. Well, you had Harden. Harden's 34 years old. He doesn't have that explosive first step off the ball anymore. He's not blowing by anybody, right? He's a pocket passer. He's a facilitator. He's 22 points a game. I'll take it.
Well said. I don't think we disagree at all.
No.
Which means we can talk about our favorite team in the league, the Golden State Warriors.
Oops. I can't do it. Yeah.
I just want to start off by saying how freaking weird of a series this has been. So, you know, we're going to talk about, was the code broken in a little bit. We're going to get into that, but it's just so wonky. This to me has been grit and grind. It's been hard playoff basketball, call it dirty. both teams calling each other out for dirty play. But just looking at like it's been so back and forth in terms of losing on the road, like or teams losing at home. And then I got so freaking hyped up for game 4 last night. All right, our triple BP from last year, breakout player Dylan Brooks, discount Danny Green, finally gets his spotlight moment to go show, hey, we can do this. And what did the Grizzlies do? They buckle down the stretch and just fall apart in Golden State. And what should have been a 2-2 series is now 3-1. What went wrong for the Grizzlies?
I'm going to assume everything. I mean,
like, they didn't score as many points as the other team.
Yeah, they're playing against the Golden State Warriors, so I'm going to assume everything went wrong for the Grizzlies and nothing went wrong for Golden State. I mean, how do you miss, like, what? Clay and Poole were what, like 0 of 10 or 0 of whatever at a certain point from 3, and like it just doesn't matter. It just never matters. What did you do? You were up and you thought you closed it out, so you just like got caught napping. You figured, oh, we can just close this one out. It'll be no big deal, and just didn't think that like, oh, we could just, the team we're playing can go on like a 30-2 run in the blink of an eye.
This was supposed to be the year that Golden State didn't make it far in the playoffs.
Yeah, but you know, you're not giving. I mean, basketball is a muscle memory game, right? I mean, everything about it is a muscle memory game, and people talk about like your playoff experience. Look, if I talk to you on Halloween, was anybody going, man, I'm really excited about the Grizzlies Dubs playoff matchup? You're like, dude, what are you talking about? Come on, seriously. the Grizzlies, and they like that wouldn't even be a like the fact that you're talking about that it is a series and they do have a chance. I mean,
they did.
They did.
Look, you know what? I'll be honest with you, like Steve Kerr, one of the best coaches ever, right? You know, their team is 4 deep, and by 4 deep, I mean they're all 4 are starters in any team in the NBA, and then you figure out who your 5th person is, right? But they're there, and the fact that like they just got, I can't imagine going against a machine like Golden State, and you're that young John Morant and the Grizzlies, where you're just playing on pure skill, right? You don't have that nuance, that finesse of, hey, we got to adjust, we got to lay back, we got to just kind of take the blows for a quarter and come back. I mean, that in a really good way, I think this is a phenomenal learning experience, because if anybody thinks that the Grizzlies aren't going to be there and they're actually building, and I love their ownership and I love their coaching, I just think it's the start of something. And I think we're over emphasizing their fall apart last night, and we're giving more credit to the Warriors, because nobody thought that it should have even been this close. Nobody should have thought that John Morant should be able to carry them. I mean, do you guys, did you really think John Morant was going to even make it a series?
Well, but that's where
Mr. Ogden did.
that's to me where I got caught up in that hype. I got caught up in that Memphis number 2 seed. Like, are we seeing, you know, the new face of the league? We've talked in the past about who's going to be that next kind of heir to the NBA throne, and you know, guys like Ja were on that list, and
he is, by the way, he is.
But that to me was like the
heir has to
false
ascend.
Hope. That was the false hope, and that wishful thinking of just wanting to see the Warriors dynasty crumble from the inside out.
So that was great marketing by the NBA and ESPN and ABC, who put a ton of money into the NBA over the past 10 years and continue to do huge contracts. I mean, think about it. They were the same people that told you, man, if the Nets or Lakers get in, even if it's on a play-in, man, they got a real chance. They could go. They have a chance. If they're just there, they could go. I'm telling you, man, you don't want to play the Lakers if you're the number 8 playing the.
You don't want to play the Nets.
I know the Nets have never ever played together, and they play with a square ball and only on Tuesdays and only outside of New York. But I'm telling you, you don't want to play them ever. I mean, that was just great marketing. Ja Morant and the Grizzlies are great marketing. He is a phenomenal player. They're a great young team.
But how many games did they win down the stretch with half their roster missing? Like, it was seriously impressive the way that they closed out the regular season. I guess to me, the point that I'm seeing more clearly now is playoff basketball is just a totally different beast. And that's where the teams really shape, like they find their form and they find that level of elite, performance that teams like Golden State have experience, they have history, they've been there, they know what to expect, they're not going to get caught up.
This feels a little bit like Derrick Rose's Bulls against the big three in Miami in the playoffs a few of those years. And it just seems like people are sick of watching this team win, but they've been there, they've won. And you're like, everybody's like, Derrick Rose, he's the MVP. He's going to be the new face of the league. They're taking over. And it just never materialized. And I hope that doesn't happen for Ja Morant the same way it happened to Derrick Rose.
Because oh man, dude, Derrick Rose, come on, you're killing me.
It just has that feel of like, you're young, you don't have the experience, you don't have enough pieces, and you're not ready to take on
and yet he's
Death Star.
And yet, Ja, like I like that comparison a lot, Justin, because you see the reckless abandon that Ja is playing with. And it's very reminiscent to just that like fire and explosiveness that Derrick Rose was playing with.
Dude, Derrick Rose, before his first injury, was Ja Morant. Like, that's spot on. Like, I mean, I watched probably he was 30, outrageous. 40 games. I mean, I remember watching him going, everybody else is in trouble. Because if he just gets better, and this is his first year and this is his second year, like, it's going to be absolutely terrifying. And then, so hopefully it's not the same trajectory. I look at the Grizzlies and just, I think their ownership is better, right? Like, they're not just going to hang everything on Ja Morant and be like, hey, good luck. We can sell season tickets. They seem like they're trying to put some pieces around and want to put some pieces. So if they could go in, get a good draft, and maybe get a free agent, I don't know. I think he's good enough to elevate a team. I really do.
So speaking of injuries, I want to talk about what transpired in game 2 and then what just happened in, I guess it was game 3, right? So game 2, we've got Gary Payton flying down, goes up for the layup, and our man Dylan Brooks in midair sends him crashing to the ground, tries to kind of catch his fall and completely messes up his arm. Dylan Brooks gets ejected, out for game 3. After that game, lots of talk about that being a dirty play. And then what happens the next game? We got this little shuffle with Ja. So, was the code broken? Which move was more egregious?
Justin C., you're up.
I don't think either move was egregious. I mean, they're like, oh, you have to protect guys who are in the air, but he was just way late. I mean, he shouldn't have attempted to make that block, but he attempted to make a block and caught the guy. At worst, you knock him on the back of his head, but the way he landed, because he was going up and just couldn't catch himself properly, breaks his arm, and he's out. So I guess you can say that one's more egregious because of the result of the play, but the result of this play, whether it was this play or not, we don't even know. Like, there's multiple video evidence of Ja getting like knee knocked or twisting it, kind of landing on it funny. Yep. In other parts of the game, we're like, this is where he got hurt. No, this is where he got hurt. So like, he's out, but like, this guy reached down and like swiped at his knee. I watch a lot of hockey too. I'm not just an NBA guy, but I watched a guy
Sorry.
get kneecapped with a stick last night, just like
Yeah,
right
twice,
under the
yeah.
pad. He fell down and then he just got back up and kept going. I'm like, the dude literally just like Paul Bunyan him right in his knees. And he's just like, well, I'm going to keep playing because I play hockey.
My
And I
team
don't
needs
know
me
if
to
this
keep
is like
going.
being soft or if this is cumulative with Jaw with like several plays occurred, but they're listing him out with a bone bruise. And there's just no way you bruised a man's bone by swiping at like his patellar
Yeah.
tendon or whatever. So I don't know. I think it's a lot of talk about nothing in general. And I don't know, Steve Kerr being like, that wasn't physical, that was dirty or
Well,
whatever he
Steve's
said.
smart.
Like,
He's playing to the cameras knowing that the refs look at all this stuff after the
it's
game.
ridiculous. Poor me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can, I think the hard part for everybody to get around is you have to judge the foul, not the injury, right?
Right.
Because yes, it's terrible that he broke his elbow. Yes, it's terrible that he has a bone bruise, comma, it's still a foul. So where does it sit in the world of fouls? Because there's a lot of like ticky-tack fouls where people get really injured just because it's a freak accident. Right. I think my theory with the in the air is you don't go after the head and you don't sweep the legs, right? Old school.
Yeah.
And it was a flagrant 2, and he should have been ejected, and that's it. Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
but then he somehow got ejected for a whole nother game after.
see that I disagree with. It's like, look, I get that he got injured, but now you're looking at it going, well, he got injured, so maybe we should give him a little bit more. You know what do you think? What do you guys think?
Yeah. Eye for an eye.
I don't like that. It's like, call it in the game and call it based on that, not based on the injury. I
Mhm.
think it was a flagrant 2. You don't hit somebody in the head, period. I mean, I actually think that happens more
Yeah.
often than it should, regardless of the situation. Like, you shouldn't, if you're 275 pounds and built, you shouldn't be just clubbing somebody in the head on any play. That, like, it's basketball. You're wearing shorts and a tank top. Like, maybe we should just get rid of that play overall, regardless of whether it's in the air or not. And the Moran thing, no, I don't, that's just them kind of flipping back the script. If that's what got him there, sorry, but if you look at every single game and really watch, especially early in the first and second half, who was the guy that just got hip checked last night or 2 nights ago? What was it? Was it the Celtics? Oh, gosh, what the play? I just saw it, like, totally off the play, coming down, just hip
Marcus
checked him right.
Smart getting like bullied.
Yes,
by Giannis
yes,
and
yes,
just completely level.
just like boom,
Boom.
and like where it was like, oh no, it was a beautiful. I grew up in a hockey school, so hip check was like an art. Like, you could just hip check, like, it didn't take a lot of energy, and you could send somebody clear across the room. And he set him right on his butt, and I was like, well, okay, so if he broke his finger when he was trying to brace his fall, is that a flagrant 2?
Yeah. Multiple game ejection, suspension.
I'm all for getting the, elbows to the face, stop poking people, stop flopping, all that stuff. But, Peyton, I like Peyton a lot, but he broke his elbow and it's terrible, but it's a flagrant 2, eject him for the game and move on.
Yeah, but let Brooks play in that game. Although I did see, based off of some of the less than,
Pull my hair back, sorry.
I will say, given some of the less than efficient performance on the offensive side for Dylan Brooks, I saw Grizzlies fans saying maybe he should have gotten ejected for more games so he's not in that situation. Like, I think it was one of the last possessions, like 4 seconds into the shot clock, he just pulls up from 3 after missing his last 4 or 5 attempts.
Yeah.
So discount Danny Green or homeless Kobe. Like, it could be either one.
So I have 2 questions, and I do have to watch this phenomenal comeback that is going to be on Get Up tomorrow with Greeny. 2 questions. One is, so is LeBron coming back to the land? Hold on. It's a drinking game for those that are watching that don't know. And number 2,
you broke your rules. I have done very well.
and number 2, should Jokic have really gotten the MVP?
Are these both for me?
They're for anybody that wants them.
Well,
All
at
right,
least
well-
that first one's for you, Justin.
Answer one is no, unless his son gets drafted there somehow. But I feel as though Sam Presti and the Oklahoma City Thunder own every draft pick for the next like 6 years, and will somehow find a way to make sure that if he does get drafted, he gets drafted to Oklahoma City, and he somehow finds a way to get dad there to play one last season.
So does that mean LeBron's next contract? Because what is it, 3 years away, theoretically?
I think it's less.
Or 2?
I think it might be 2 at this point.
So how many years does LeBron have left? And does he renegotiate like I can trade myself clause? Right? 'Cause- I mean, seriously, like, I mean, he's gonna, because how is he gonna get to Oklahoma unless he has a, hey, I'll sign this contract and you give me a paycheck up until I tell you to stop?
Well, so basically for the past however many years, since he went back to Cleveland, he's been signing a,
Oh, Justin, does he not know that he's not on Cleveland? He's a Laker.
yeah, since he got
You
back
can
to
edit this out.
Cleveland, he's been doing 2-in-1 deals. So he signs a 2-year deal with a player option that he could leave after 1 if he wants. And so he's just been basically playing on 1-year contracts for the past 8 years almost. So I see him just continuing to do that. I think he's got 1 more year on this contract, and he'll probably sign another one where he can leave after a year again. So
do you think that his son's really going to come down to a lottery pick, and LeBron's gonna have to finish his career like in Orlando, for the love of God?
So
I mean,
he says he wants to play with him. I feel
I
like that
agree.
means just in the league, maybe not on the same team, but everybody is taking it as he wants to play with him on the same team. So
that's a great. I haven't heard any NBA analyst say that. So Justin, see everybody breaking the news here.
yes, if he wants to
You
go
heard it here
Griffey,
first.
if he wants to go Griffey,
Cleveland
Griffey
reporter.
Jr. on them, like, then he'll have to be a free agent the year that his son could be drafted. And he put that out there to also entice teams to want to draft his son, who might not be good enough to be, a top lottery pick or even a draft pick. Like, we don't really know how good his son is or is going to be, but I think he's trying to guarantee that his son gets an opportunity with a team somewhere. Not super similar, but Seth Curry had to play a lot of G League ball before he caught on, but he might not gotten those opportunities if he wasn't Steph Curry's brother. So I don't know. I only see him really signing with Cleveland if he signs there to retire as a Cav, or like people do on a 1-day contract. Also, Jokic should not have been MVP. I think there are 2 people more deserving than him to be the MVP. I don't know who I would have given my vote to, but
Who would the 2 people be other than him?
Giannis and Embiid, I think, both had better seasons, and I couldn't be upset with either one of them getting it. I don't think Jokic deserved it over either of them.
I'm just surprised that I think Justin, we were talking about this maybe a month ago. I thought Embiid was a lock, mostly just for the sole fact that he hasn't won it yet. Like,
yes.
to me, okay, Jokic won it, Giannis won it, and so
you're saying he's the Steve Nash of the East?
No, we're saying Jokic is the Steve Nash of the now. But Embiid, I think he was a lock. I think we were talking about this, not just because he hasn't won it, but because he was the front runner last year before his injury with 6 weeks left. And it was
which is fair that he didn't win it because of that. I get that.
Yeah, this is his for sure. And so this year, it's not as if he had a down season. They're like, wow, we really can't justify giving to him. He put up another MVP worthy season and should have been, I would say should have garnered more votes because they couldn't give it to him last year, even though he was deserving then. He's still deserving now.
And he played, he played like he kept, because remember last season there was those haters and doubters that were saying like, oh, but even if he would play a full season, there's no way he could put up those numbers. And here he is playing a full season, putting up those numbers.
Yeah, well, he was just going to drop off in the last 6 weeks of the season and not be able, like, all of a sudden unlearn basketball. That's ridiculous.
It definitely, yeah, I definitely think it's a snub. But at the same point, or on the other side of the token here is it doesn't have to be this binary of like, oh, because Jokic wins it, then like we have to demonize Jokic because the dude played out of his mind and it was incredible.
Oh, he's a phenomenal player. Right? I mean,
yeah.
I just wish that we could accept the greatness of all these performers and not just boil it down to only one's MVP and everyone else, like, who cares?
Only one is MVP.
Hey, Justin C.
Yeah.
Do you love, so, I mean, just, all of a sudden Justin Ogden's like, can we just all get along? Even though
everyone win MVP.
Even though I'm wearing like a Denver Nuggets shirt, Look,
you get an MVP.
Look, I understand. Look, Justin C. and Kyle, I understand what you're saying, but I mean, so he got it. So let's just move on from this conversation. And so we got it this year, and so we got, okay, so it's 2 years. Okay, not a big deal, right? We're all okay. Don't placate us. You're wrong. You should have won it.
The big deal is that
you should have won it. You want to know why?
We have to have losers.
He wasn't even the third best player in the vote, in my opinion.
Wait. So who's the third best then?
I think Justin C would agree. It's LeBron.
So Jokic is number 4 then. Okay, got it.
If we're talking best player in the league, I mean, there's a different hierarchy. I don't know if I could. But it is interesting. LeBron did not play enough games, in my opinion, to garner any respect for the vote. But he statistically had a better season than I think each of his 4 MVP seasons. Like, the numbers are insane.
I love it.
He was more points, more rebounds, and slightly less assists than all 4 of his MVP seasons.
Okay, so we need to get back in like 10 years in this same podcast, and like Justin's gonna be like, look, I know LeBron hasn't played in 8 years, but I still think he had a really good season.
He had a great season. I think
he's been in the booth for 2 years, and I think his play calling actually helped the other team win while he was announcing.
All right. So the big problems with Justin's argument, one, maybe not your argument. One, Steve Nash and Nikola Jokic have a combined 4 MVPs. Shaq and Kobe have a combined 2. So
that's insane.
That just seems criminal.
That's insane.
Criminal. All right. And then didn't the NFL just give Tom Brady and Peyton Manning co-MVP because they were like, oh, we just can't. Is that what you want? Is that what you want the NBA to turn into?
No,
come on.
I don't. I don't.
I mean, I honestly think like there's like threw the votes out and like the NBA was like, look, they're going to leave like in 2 years. Nobody's going to the games. Nobody really cares. We got this guy in Charlotte who bought a shirt like 4 years ago, and that's keeping us at profitability. Can we just somehow get the focus on Denver? Because outside of Denver, nobody's talking about the Nuggets, right? I mean, we put it on TNT and Charles Barkley's like, yeah, there's a team in Denver. So now to what's important.
Yeah. Oh, great questions. So
hey, Justin C, here's my prediction. LeBron is not in the NBA when his son comes in. I think he's close enough to serious injury based on the volume of games that he's played. And I think his son is good enough, but maybe to your point, when you talk about G League or Australia League, when I look at a guy like Paul who came into Charlotte, and that year in Australia is the difference between him being rookie of the year and just being another top 20 draft. Now, I don't think LeBron will let him do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you really see all of a sudden that you have two Jameses in Houston, Orlando, or like, no, dude, I'll meet you in Detroit. We're gonna bring the Pistons back. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude.
I mean, we're drafted to Detroit. Think about where he's gonna go. Can you be like? I mean, can you picture the cover? Like, right, like his son. He all of a sudden he's walking out, and he's got like the Trailblazers jersey on, right? And he's like, "Yay, I'm first round!" And LeBron's like, It's really rainy there. I got like
Yeah.
I got a studio here, meaning like a
Yes.
film studio, not like a studio apartment. And yeah, we'll look at the schedule and we'll get together for dinner.
Yeah. I'll come to your games when you're in LA.
I'll see you. I'll see you in the LA games.
Right? Be like, hey, by the way, don't take choppers. Just word of advice.
Too soon. Too soon.
Too soon. Sorry.
Too soon.
Dude, I'm looking at the list. Wait, like Houston. Oh, hey, yeah, everyone wants to go to Houston, Texas. Dude, the people in Houston are going, please, could we go to Denver?
Sacramento. I hear it's
Orlando,
nice this time of year.
Detroit, Oklahoma City, Indiana, Portland, and Sacramento. Like, I mean, can you put the like do what everybody does? Take the Twitter and put the jersey on LeBron and tell me how that looks.
Yeah. What about the New York Knicks?
What are you
See
gonna
that?
like? Just be like, hey, we're gonna give you like the next 17 years of #1 picks, knowing that we're gonna draft his son, knowing that he'll come and we're just gonna sell it. I think the Knicks could do it.
I don't see him going that high in the draft. So I feel like a team that's more mid like that, who's like,
Dude.
we'll take a risk just because we need a big name and we need to be relevant, trying to make a move. But like, I don't see it panning out for anybody.
Okay.
But
So let's play that game. You're Oklahoma City, you're Detroit, you're Orlando, and let's throw Portland in there.
yeah,
I don't care where I am. I'm just drafting LeBron's kid because there's a chance LeBron might come to my team. And I would literally put him like in a box and say he doesn't get fed until
Unless
you
you
come.
come.
Until you come. I mean,
until you sign
like-
the deal.
I mean, they don't even care. Like, look, we have the 4th pick, and where do we have on the draft board? He's 37th. Good, get James
Yeah.
Kidd,
Yeah, we'll
and
take him.
right, and send like an old school Western telegram. You know, send money and LeBron, otherwise the kid doesn't get fed for a week.
Yeah. There's like magazine clipping letters like scattered.
I mean, do you really think like Portland cares what the impact of the team is at that point? They're like, we can sell 8-time season tickets, and even if LeBron doesn't come, if we can just say he might be in the stands eating popcorn and a Diet Coke,
Yeah,
we can
people will
probably
be
sell
there.
more games. This has been a blast, by the way. Thanks for having me.
That's probably about 10 more minutes of talk about LeBron than what I anticipated.
And I didn't have any. I initiated none.
I'm a huge
I want
LeBron
the record
fan.
to know.
So you have to understand my conflict. I am a huge LeBron fan. Huge. Right? I hate the Lakers.
Oh, I do too.
Like if you watch the end of the series that they're doing on HBO about the buses, I don't know if you're watching it at all.
I have
But-
not watched it.
but-
The
But
magic moment.
Wiggins, who was on the team, like had a drug problem, and like the last scene of the last show where he goes to his drug dealer and says, "Hey, I need you to take care of somebody." And they're like, "No problem, man. Who?" And he goes to the Lakers. I was like, "Finally, I love the show." I'm like, I'm in. It was 1980. You know who they played in 1980? I watched every single game.
All right, let's keep it moving here. I need to
Keep it
distract
moving.
myself from this abomination of a Sixers game. Is there?
Okay,
Wheels are coming off in the third quarter.
I gotta go
Justin.
watch it, guys.
No.
Go
Justin
ahead.
needs to explain to us why he's wearing an O'Neal backwards jersey. What's up with that?
Oh,
What's
boy.
up?
Well, I real quick, who you guys got? One-on-one, anything, any contest, it could be pie eating. I don't really care. Shaq or Rudy Gobert. I mean, I feel bad just even asking this, but like people these days, just I feel like they don't understand.
Dude,
And
people don't get how I mean, Shaq was, to this day, hasn't been a second. There hasn't been a guy you're like, well, you know, he's the next Shaq.
yeah,
Like that
he's
doesn't
Giannis
exist.
with 75 more pounds of muscle,
Yeah, I mean,
just as fast, just as tall. Like just crazy.
I mean, when you think about it, he did what everybody talks about the great players say he went to 2 teams and won championships. And they won championships because he was there.
Yeah.
But I get the Kobe thing, but Kobe didn't win before Shaq came.
It's true. Neither did
Right.
Dwayne.
Right? Yeah, I mean, Dwayne Will, he is the Heat. Okay, he didn't really do much until Shaq got there, and did do much after Shaq got there until LeBron got there. So when you really think about it, Dwayne Wade's actually overrated by that rule, right? You couldn't win without Shaq or LeBron.
Yeah. I'll agree.
I mean, it's Shaq. I mean, Shaq is. I mean, he wasn't just like big. I mean, he was stupid talented. It's like saying Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is just a skyhook.
Yeah.
Like
People
that's
just don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, there's no question. It's totally the recency ignorance, recency bias. Just you got to respect the true icy hot king himself, Shaquille O'Neal. Whew, 20-point game.
Shaq Fu. Okay, gotta go.
Kyle, it's been a pleasure. Thanks
Peace
for
and love.
joining.
Thank you both, Justins, for tolerating me for an hour. It's more than my family can do talking about the Sixers. I'm gonna go back in and make my wife change the station. She's probably watching something intelligent right now, which I'm gonna totally ruin and put an NBA on. So thank you.
Come back
Have a
anytime.
great rest of the week. And,
All
and to all the fans out there, go Sixers.
Yeah.
Because I know the fans will appreciate that.
Yes.
That's right. Trust the process. Adios.